Kylie, I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Muted, it says now.
Now you are unmute. You are unmuted. Should be in the
Now I can hear you.
You can.
Perfect.
Yay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Over there.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, Arbor Day proclamation.
All right, so the Arbor Day proclamation we do on an annual basis with our Tree City USA status to stay compliant with that. We do a proclamation and we also have to do a program or event every year in coordination with Arbor Day. Kevin Short, he is working with the school district to plant a tree possibly on the school district land. One of the students wrote and was interested in having an apple tree planted on the school district. So we're working with them and hope that's our hope for this year's program with that short turnaround of Kevin just starting and trying to get something kicked off very shortly here. That was what our program for 2024. We also have an Earth Day cleanup and that's not geared as much towards Arbor Day, but we do have a Earth Day cleanup scheduled for this weekend. And the proclamation will go to Common Council tomorrow night. If anybody would like to read it tonight, I can also read it if anybody wishes.
What do we get out of being a tree city other than being a tree city?
What do we get out of being a Tree City USA?
Right.
We get the golden standard. We get a gold leaf every year to add to our plaque. And we also it holds the city accountable and it helps with funding for grants as
There we go.
well. So
That's
yeah.
what I was.
I started with the fun one first. So
Okay. All right. Thank you.
yeah. But I'm happy to read this. I also requested Katie Nelson if you are interested in reading the proclamation for tomorrow night at Common Council. Otherwise, I am more than welcome to. But
I'm happy to. I'm more than happy to read it tomorrow.
Perfect. Awesome.
Thank you for the honor.
Yes. Katie has been a big advocate and working really hard on our spongy moth, which we just had to submit today.
Yeah.
And this doesn't have to do with the proclamation, but just so you guys are aware, we are working on that spongy moth project for.
So do you need any sort of motion to go with the proclamation?
I would think a motion to the Common Council to recommend approval of the proclamation at the Common Council meeting for tomorrow night would be appropriate.
So moved.
A motion to second.
I'll second.
All right, motion second. Any discussion on the motion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Agenda item number 2, agreement with Strand Associates for design engineering services for, I always mispronounce this, Cayuga Connector Path.
That is correct.
All right.
So I am bringing this forward. I don't know in the past, maybe David or Nick, you guys would have some more background information, or Katie, on new trails that are being designed and proposed and added into our city system. I know this goes past PED Bike and Transit Committee, but I also just wanted to bring this up to attention, and I think it's important to PRFC and CLC potentially, that our staff and maintains all of our trail system throughout the city. So I think it's important if we have any feedback through the process of the design and the contract or agreement with construction that we are at least aware. And if there's any feedback, we do have more time for that, but I just wanted it to be on the agenda for discussion if you guys think it's appropriate to provide feedback on agreements and design services with new trail systems. And then also if there's any comment or feedback on one of our PRFC members being more included potentially on bike and transit, so it doesn't have to go to both committees. But I just wanted to bring this up. And if you guys aren't familiar, Cayuga is downtown by the coffee shop. What one is that one?
Barrique's.
Barrique's Coffee Shop down there. And the trail, I will show this map here, is highlighted in green. So Cayuga Avenue, where Barrique's is down here, and then it connects into the Creek Corridor essentially. The Creek Corridor Trail, the path picks up right here and it goes into the Creek Corridor. So it is a connector path to downtown, which is very exciting. It's been in the plans for 15 years. This design service is getting funded through TIF funding. And then it would be requested in the 2025 budget for construction. And not in our budget per se, but.
But this is the engineering of the path and figuring out exactly where it's going to be placed. Does it include engineering in terms of standards for construction of the pathway?
Can you repeat that?
Does it include standards for the construction of the pathway in terms of
Yes,
base and
I
the asphalt and the crown and
believe that those standards will come out of the design process.
okay, so it will be included. Okay, good.
But that will come out of the design process. And this is the agreement for what the deliverables will be for Strand and Associates. They were awarded, they were the lowest of 3 bidders on the design service for the path.
Yep.
But this basically is a standardized agreement that we use for a lot of our trail system, or all of our bigger projects, construction projects. And this one was modified for the trail design. And then what we do have the option, or the city has the option then to move forward with Strand overseeing the project management after design as well. So
Okay.
this kind of basically is the long agreement that will be recommended to common council tomorrow night. And timeline for that is May through November of this year.
That's good.
Accept a motion to recommend approval of the agreement.
I can make a motion to recommend approval of the agreement for the
I'll second-
connector.
I'll
Okay.
second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion?
Are we gonna see the plan before, like, they show us the actual plan?
They'll,
Like, is there some sort of plan to start just like? you know,
this is a
final?
general plan, and this is an agreement to get the design plan finalized and have a final design plan to turn over to
And then do we see that design plan?
we would at the end, that would be one of the deliverables from the agreement. So
That's when you can make comments on it?
we can bring it forward to have input from this committee if that's what you guys wish.
Was there something that you wanted to say in the design that?
Well, obviously, if there's possible to have more shade, if there's room, inside.
Yeah, shade in a path is always nice.
Because now it's getting hot, like you can feel it when there's not enough shade. But
being right along the, well, a lot of it along the road is gonna be tough. Yeah. Understood.
Yes, ma'am, comment.
Yeah, no, that.
Any further discussion on the motion? All right, hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye, opposed? All right, motion carries. All right, item number 3, Asbury Church requests to park a trailer on the site for the duration of shelter reservation at Lakeview Park.
All right, so I don't have, I'll go back up here to the, oofta. Don't get dizzy. I should have just went up to page 1. All right, is it Ashbury? I'm not sure if I'm saying that right.
Asbury.
Asbury Church has rented out Lakeview Park shelter for numerous years for an event, a week-long event, and that is July 15th through 19th. With that event, they provide food and crafts and have a lot of supplies. We don't allow anything to be stored in the shelter overnight. Per our policy, everything has to be removed on a daily basis. Also, they have too much that would fit in the fridge freezer that we have in our concessions area. So they have a U-Haul, a small U-Haul trailer where they have coolers of ice and coolers of food for hot dogs and snow cones that they provide free to the camp or anybody that attends. And then they need, because they need a lot of storage space, they have that U-Haul trailer and they need it hooked to electric. And their request is to have that trailer at the park on site overnight or for that week duration, Monday morning through Friday afternoon, hooked up to electric and in the asphalt pad area right outside Lakeview Shelter. And I am happy to pull up a map of that. But it's right outside of our shelter space and that is their request. It's not typically something we offer and it's not a part of our rental policy. So I'm bringing it in front of you to help make a decision and maybe we can review our policy this fall to include something of this nature.
Have we had anything like this come up before that you know
The Friends of Pheasant Branch asked to park trailers overnight at Orchid Heights Park for a special event the next morning. And that was no electric hookup and they were parked in parking stalls. So I know, but this one can't be parked in parking stall because it has to be hooked up to electric. That we have given permission to this in the past and we have given permission, our staff has given permission to this, I believe, in the past. So I just feel like it needs to be a part of it's a policy question for our department.
I just get concerned on these things as far as setting precedents. But you're saying that we've done more or less this already.
Very like slightly, I think one time that I know of with the Friends, but they're no longer doing that event, so it's not coming back up. This would be the kind of the one outside that I know of that there's something parked in one of our parks.
Kylie, this is Katie. When Pheasant Branch did this, how many days was it? Just one night?
It was one night, and they were parked in parking stalls in the Orchid
Yeah.
Heights lot.
I'm thinking they need to at least pay some kind of rental fee for the electricity and the right to be there for 5 days.
So that,
And they are paying a rental fee for the shelter, for use of the shelter for a daily basis. But they aren't paying for having their trailer overnight so it'd be 4 nights, Monday through Thursday night.
And the electricity that they're using during those 4 nights.
Yeah, and, yeah, yeah.
So the parking at Orchid Heights, is that not allowed normally?
No,
you-
no parking in the parking lot, like anybody can from 5 a.m. till 10 p.m.
But not
But
overnight?
no overnight parking is allowed in any of our city parking lots, parking lots that
But since this isn't a parking lot, that's,
it's like it is a parking, it's an unloading and offloading zoned area. So it's for unloading and offloading. So if people want to use the shelter, but you're not supposed to park there for the duration of your event, which happens quite frequently at Lakeview.
So I agree with Katie. I think it'd be good to figure out some way to add an additional fee for the cost. And I also think, I mean, the question of precedent, what is the reason that we would make this exception? Because, you know, I'm conceptually not against it, but where's that line? And if we make this exception, how are we determining what other requests we agree to? Or when we do say no, I mean, why is there a policy that says no? And what would support making an exception?
So the electricity is for refrigerators that are in the trailer?
Yes, it's for making sure the trailer's cooled for ice and other food products there. And so, yeah,
And I went to this last year with my kids and they had like snow cones and
Yeah.
hot dogs and
Yeah,
I mean, the churches, you can pretty much see the church from the park.
yeah.
I'm trying to figure out, is it too much of a hassle to hook up the trailer to a truck and park it in their parking lot? I don't know what their, like the building, what exterior outlets or whatever they would have
Well,
to plug it in their own parking lot. And then just, I mean, we're not asking to drive 10 miles every day.
yeah, and I did call and I asked them that question as well, and just to follow up, like what's needed on your end, or why is this? And they just mentioned that this is just very convenient for them to leave something there, but then that their staff, like they would have to have a staff or volunteer take it back and forth each day.
I think we should stick to our policy and make them move it.
yeah, I mean, convenience for them is not, I don't think that rises the level on this. You're absolutely right. I mean, it's blocks and just a few.
Mhm.
Yeah, I understand where they're coming from, and I would ask the same thing if I were them, but I don't really want to go down that road.
And I do think that we should have this down like as a policy that in the future so that we can discuss that at a future meeting about this, so we don't have repeat requests. Because I think too, you're right, what is the precedent? You know, we say yes to this, then everybody's gonna be like, well, can I come in the night before my event and set up, basically.
We always tell them no. We get
Yeah.
a lot of requests if people
Yeah,
come.
and my only other concern about this was, is there a liability issue on the city if
Yep.
something would happen
Right.
to that rental?
If the trailer would not be there in the morning,
Yeah,
then what happens?
yeah.
Good point. So do we need a motion on this?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, I move that we not allow this request for Asbury Church. And if we have a policy down the road, we can revisit that. But as of right now, we're going to follow our policy and not honor this request.
I will second that motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Do you have any discussion on the item? On the motion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
I
Opposed? All right, motion carries. All right, staffing updates.
We're still hiring full-time people since I very first got here. But we are almost there with hiring all of our full-time staff. Gabrielle, I did send out a note, but I don't know if you guys aren't on the staff or common yeah. So Katie got the email, but I should forward that along to all of the PRFC members, just thanking Gabrielle Hinahara. She has been our youth center director for over 10 years. I know she was at our previous meeting, letting everyone know that she was leaving and moving on. So we had gone through interviews for the youth center director position and had went through our hiring process. We have hired John Hunter. He is our assistant youth center director currently, and has also been here for almost 8 years working at the youth center. So we have hired him in the role, and he starts on May 20th, as Gabrielle's last day is May 17th. And with that, we are doing a transition. I noted at a previous meeting, we are working on changing, or we have gone through a material change for John's position to be a recreation coordinator position with 75% of their time allocated to recreation programming and 25% of their time allocated to youth center. So that is a little bit different, as it was about 63% allocated to the youth center in the past. So we did a little bit of a switch, but that was budgetarily as we increased the youth center director Gabrielle's position to full-time. So that was only a part-time position, and we increased the youth center director to full-time. So John will be at 40 hours with us, and we have the recreation coordinator position open until this Sunday. We're taking applications, and then we'll be running interviews for that position coming up in a few weeks from now. And the start date for that position will be May 20th as well. So right before summer hits and day camp and summer camp hits, we're hiring 2 rec staff. So we are working on a timeline for a very smooth transition with that. But just a heads up, with our staffing changes, that affects our operations, and we try to respond as quickly as possible to make sure everything's smooth. But
All right. All right, liaison reports. So I'll start with planning commission. So item of discussion that we had last week is public hearing that I think is probably most pertinent to PRFC is the school district is requesting a rezoning of a parcel of land at the high school to build a new softball field for girls softball and to renovate the baseball field. The public hearing was lengthy. It was about an hour long, very passionate on pleas for both sides, and I'll get to the 2 sides in a minute. The school district has already approved this plan and just needs the rezoning. In a 5-4 vote, I think it was back in February or early March, they voted in favor of artificial field turf as opposed to natural grass. So the arguments in favor of, so most of what we heard at the hearing wasn't about yes or no to the rezoning. It was pretty much sounded like nobody really said no to moving the softball field. But because I think because the girls softball diamond is right now, I believe, out by Firefighters Park, right? Yeah, so they want to bring it on campus. And but the debate was artificial versus natural turf. So the citizens residents who spoke in favor of the artificial turf, we're talking about playability, the fact that you can have more events, it won't wear and tear, you don't get wear and tear on the grass as much. You can use it, the day after it rains without having to worry about the field drying out. And then it would lead to fewer rainouts or fewer weather delays for practices and for games and everything like that. The side that was in favor of natural turf, so the softball field would be right adjacent to the creek in the creek corridor. And right now, the way that the land is sloped is all water runoff goes into the creek. At least that's what was described to us in the meeting or in the hearing. And the fear is that with artificial turf being largely made out of petroleum and, other plastics, that runoff would leach into the ground, not only the groundwater, but into the creek corridor. So we deferred action on the agenda item because Conservancy Lands had yet to hear or take up the item on their agenda. So we deferred it till to a meeting after Conservancy Lands has an opportunity to take up the item at their next meeting, which I believe is a week from today, right?
Yep.
Okay. So I think those are the main, I think those the thing that's the most pertinent to PRFC. I don't think that's going to come across our desk or our table, but
Yeah, the only
Um,
thing that would come up out of that would be we have a land use agreement
Mhm.
with the softball field, and then we also have a lease agreement in that area with recreational use.
because it's city-owned land that the school district leases from us. So that was the other piece of it. And I think the other thing was the other delay was to get some city attorney review on it too, to see if, it wasn't clear to us, I guess, who the applicant was for the rezoning and how that impacts the various lease agreements and, if we're even allowed to rezone with the stipulation, you can't use one turf versus another. I think.
What does the lease state about these things? That's
Yeah, and I think that, so the city attorney was going to review a lot of that.
Was anything brought up that it was a previous landfill?
Yes, that was mentioned in one of the speakers did mention that it was a previous landfill. So, they're talking about DNR regulations and, of what can be over the top of a former landfill as well. So I think that was,
Speaking of
Conservancy Lands.
Conservancy Lands, well, so there was a meeting on the 28th of February, which I was unable to attend. And we talked about rezoning of some lands, and there was apparently quite a bit of discussion. I didn't watch it, but we ended up deferring until more information can be had. And it did not come up on the meeting after that. So in a week, hopefully we'll be getting that. Also, we've had a fair amount of conversation, Conservancy Lands, about consolidation of committees. And the other thing that's sort of come up is ice and snow control on trails. And should we be using salt on paved trails when the salt would go directly into groundwater and or creeks, therefore lakes, which are already high salinity? And we've had a lot of discussion about this in the stormwater and water resources, because the salt that's put on streets primarily ends up going down to the river, to the Mississippi and into the ocean, and we don't care about the salinity of the ocean. But the salt that we put on trails and the salt that goes into retention areas gets into the groundwater, and so the lakes are getting more and more saline. And this city of Madison's had one of their wells shut down because of the salinity issue. So there's a lot of concern there. And then last month we had a meeting and we had a nice report about the work being done by Adaptive Restoration. Probably put that together for us. Moving on to water resources. We had some discussion about fees in lieu of for development. And that is by no means, I think, a done deal, but we just had some discussion on that. And talked about the Parmenter Street reconstruction, and that's a little bit of an issue with acquiring lands needed. Again, more committee consolidation questions, and with members would be aware if things got consolidated. More reports and stuff regarding the ordinance for consolidation. That's the big thing. So there's some really good people on the stormwater and water utility board that know their stuff very well, but it gets to be a little technical sometimes. Or as I like to say, for a committee based on water, it gets dry.
All right, and Community Campus Committee, have you had an opportunity to meet yet?
I haven't had an email or anything.
Okay.
I don't know.
I would get it too. She hasn't
There's
met, but
anything
we put her
happening?
on there.
Okay.
When it does come up.
Okay, sounds good.
I was even looking, I'm like, I didn't see my name on it when I looked last. So I'm like, did it really happen? And
All right, I believe that is all of our agenda items. So with that being said, we are adjourned.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Enjoy it. Casamigos.